evening, everybody. Well, the title of my lecture is Colic Made Simple, so hopefully we can clarify some of the basics and look into causes of colic remote from the gastrointestinal tract. So just to start off, colic cases can be very challenging. Often they cause increased heart rates in vets when you're trying to get there, and obviously owners can be very distressed with the word colic being thrown around. What's really important is to try and work out whether it is due to an intestinal problem or if there is another primary source of pain. And one of the things we'll look at is how to differentiate between medical and surgical colics, how to make that decision to refer the colic that you're looking at, or if you're suspicious of another cause of abdominal pain, when to refer and how to manage those. We'll just go through a few of the causes of pain remote from the intestinal tract. Unfortunately, it's not a comprehensive list because we'd probably be here all night, but hopefully cover some of the more interesting ones. So I thought I'd look at a little bit of history. There are some great old textbooks, and I thought we'd just go back and look at how much we used to know back at the beginning of the century. And certainly vets would recognise that colic can occur from sudden changes of the environment, particularly feeding patterns, and they noted that you can have colic from bad dentistry, excessive numbers of parasites, and the abuse of drugs. And the textbooks used to say that we should administer a ball of aloes without loss of time, which is something which we fortunately don't do anymore. They recognised that opium was very valuable in reducing the pain and controlling spasm, and they also recognised that giving a large dose would slow the guts. And my particular favourite quote was that in an emergency, where, as sometimes happens, drugs are not to be obtained, gin or whiskey with a little ginger can form a useful draught with warm or cold water. And then it followed on to say that it was also helpful to calm the vet in such circumstances, which has made me chuckle quite a bit. And just a little bit of history in there. The first reported colic surgery was by McQueen in 1895. It was actually a right flank laparotomy to remove an enterolith from the small colon. So back to the present day, but the history should not be forgotten. It's really, really important to check with the owner if there have been any management changes, particularly with regard to box rest and feeding, whether the horse has had any previous colic episodes, when the horse was last seen to be normal. That was one of the first things that Barry Edwards taught me when I was an undergraduate, and it was a very important question to verify with the owner. So horses with a history of colic are more likely to suffer from future episodes of medical or surgical colics. That's been quite extensively documented. Claire Scantlebury recently published a paper looking at recurrent colics in 59 first opinion practices in the northwest of England. And it was the first study to look at the incident rate of recurrent colic and occurrence within the UK leisure horse population. And she found that the risk of colic was 3.6 to 5.7 times higher in horses with a history of colic. So there is a high incidence of recurrent colic within the general equine population in the UK. They didn't find any firm conclusions regarding seasonality, which was an interesting point. And the main risk factors for recurrent colic were behavioural vices such as crib biting and wind sucking, and the presence of dental conditions and problems. Sorry, I just flicked back then by mistake. So parasites, as we all know, are a major risk factor for colics. They are less common than they used to be due to the use of anthelmintics, although it is a concern